I do really feel bad for Trae Young. Like, it's definitely not fair for him in the sense that just a few seasons ago, he was on a championship team, arguably. Not really, but like a team that had a championship run, made it to the conference finals. Obviously, they didn't make it to the finals, but it's strange to think that we're just a few years removed, and this is a guy that he's still putting up good stats. His backcourt pairing of DeJounte Murray didn't work out. They're now deconstructing the roster, and at this point, I feel like this is kind of a lost season, and it's in their best interest, even though this isn't a great draft, to maybe go out and tank this draft, tank this year, maybe get a high pick to make a big trade, or to get an NBA ready prospect at a position. I mean, the most NBA ready guy. It's not the strongest draft, but they could trade down. There's multiple moves here that I think they could do that, like, I don't think would handicap themselves, but I feel bad. And let's talk about it. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Atlanta Hawks fans, what do you guys think? This is just an unfortunate season for you guys, and I haven't been covering them as much this year because I was covering Jalen Johnson in the beginning of the year. It was a great story with him. Then Quinn Snyder, it's been a wash year. I feel like we're still in a transition year because Quinn came last year, and this is really the first year of Quinn Snyder here, and that's like, oh. And I like it. I like where we're going, and even though it doesn't look that good, it's a difficult situation. Like, if you guys were seeing the press conference the other day with Trae Young, it's a difficult situation that they're in. So before we continue the video, I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the comment section. What would you guys want the rest of the season to look like? Do you want them to go all out, trade guys, and try to make a playoff push, or do you think that let's just tank the year, try to get as many assets back as we can, trade Murray, trade everybody except Trae Young and Jalen Johnson, if you guys don't know, are the only untouchables on the roster currently, from a recent report that we saw that the untouchables on this team are just Mr. Trae Young and Jalen Johnson, which means I feel like we've been hearing AJ Griffin and DeJounte Murray rumors all week, but the offensive maestro that is Trae Young, who does have turnstile defensive weakness, is going to be the guy that is paired with Jalen Johnson, who's a rising force under a team-friendly rookie contract for another year and is obviously a keeper. And supposedly Kobe Buffkin is the other guy that they really like, even though they really aren't playing him that much. So let's talk about this Hawks team and who should stay and who should go. And it's weird. It's strange. Yeah, I agree. So let's sit down and talk about what's the problem with this Hawks team. They're 15-23. They're third in the East, or Southeast, my apology. And they're 11th in the Eastern Conference, a game behind the Brooklyn Nets, who are 16-22 in the 10th seed, final spot of the play-in. They're 4 games behind the Chicago Bulls, which is insane. Okay, insane to think about. Technically, they're 2 games back in the standings, but 4 games in total in the win column. This is a team that their problem is not offense. As long as Trae Young is here, this is going to be a top 10 offense. This man dishes like 11 assists a night, scores 30 points. He's scoring 27 a night, and they're 8th in the league at 118.9, but the defensive rating, 3rd worst in the league, is 121.2. Their defensive rating is awful. They can't play defense to save their life. They're turnstiles. And not only that, their net rating is negative 2.4, which is 6th worst in the league. And crazy part is, for how good of a three-point shooting team usually the Hawks have been in years past, this is a team that is shooting only 36% from 3, which is absurd because this team lives off of the three-point shot, if you've seen. But they are attempting the 6th most threes in the league. They're making them at the 7th most, but like 7th most made threes in total amount, but they are making them at only 36%, which is 17th. But they are the number 1 field goal attempts in the league at 93 field goal attempts a game, with 43.6 of them being made. And they're 4th in points per game at 121.7. And they only foul like 19 fouls a game, so they're kind of well disciplined. The problem is there's only 26 assists a night, which is 19th in the league, and that is awful. That is awful. For them to have the backcourt of DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, they should be top 10 in assists. They should be moving the ball around. The ball just sticks sometimes. And they are a top rebounding team in terms of they're the number one offensive rebounding team and they're eighth in the league. But their defensive rebounds, they give their opponents so many second chance opportunities and they get beat in the glass all the time. A lot of their opponents score inside. They're not big inside. They're seventh worst in the league at blocks, and they turn the ball over a lot. So a lot of the problems go back on the defense. They allow teams just to out rebound them. They allow teams to score inside, and they don't try too hard. Right now this season, and the thing is, they got a lot of guys who can score. I personally think when you look at this, let's trade DeJounte Murray to get our value back. I think Bogdanovich is having a great year, but I don't know how much longer Bogdanovich has. I'm serious, guys. I don't know. I personally think you keep him for this season and he'll have more trade value in the offseason, and we trade Bogdan in the offseason. But I don't know how much longer Bogdan has. We've already seen the knee problems in the past, and the value that he'll have this offseason that he has right now at already 31 years old, I think this is peak value for Bogdan, and you can maybe get a first round pick for him, maybe a little bit more. So I think that's a card you keep in your back pocket, but I don't think you feel forced to trade. I think the guys that you do have to trade immediately, DeJounte Murray, DeAndre Hunter, and Clint Capella. Okay, you need to open up the room for Trae Young, Jalen Johnson, Saddiq Bey, Onyeka Okongwu to all get minutes. And behind that, I mean, AJ Griffin just seems to have beef. I know he had his nephew died, but I do believe AJ Griffin and Quinn Snyder just have beef. Patty Mills needs to be taken out of here. Supposedly Kobe Buffkin is, I think Kobe Buffkin, Seth Lundy, Onyeka Okongwu, Saddiq Bey, Trae Young, Jalen Johnson should all be, those six guys should be the main rotation right now, and everybody else should be moved, okay? DeJounte Murray, you can get at least one first round pick and a good player back. I think Bogdan, you can get maybe a reclamation project and a pick. DeAndre Hunter, you could probably get just a better salary. Like we've heard them wanting to potentially flip DeAndre Hunter for, I think, like Chris Boucher and Otto Porter. And I wouldn't be too mad at that if maybe you get a second round pick or maybe a pick swap or something right there. You got to re-sign Saddiq Bey. Clint Capella, I think if you don't move him now, the value, you lose leverage and the value will go down there. So for me, I just think you need to make a move now to take advantage of what the team is like assets wise to build for next year. Even this is not a strong draft that's upcoming. I would personally like to say that looking at this year's draft, I would I know it's difficult to sit here and be like, hey, like have faith that this year's, it's difficult. It's difficult because I'm a fan of what could be the next to Trae Young. I just think Jalen Johnson's a good third option, and they need to go out and get a second option. Who that second option, I have no idea. But if they start building assets to find that second option, then I think they'll be able to really take care of Trae Young. The whole thing is you got to appease Trae Young, because at some point Trae Young might get upset and just leave, which would be bad.